Happy Full Gear Saturday, everyone. What's going on? GoodMicWork commentaries back at you with, what are we on? Episode 12 of the Winged Eagle podcast. We are here, and these Saturday podcasts on days of AEW pay-per-views might have to change a little bit because I'm getting kind of a dilemma here. In less than 2 hours, the buy-in pre-show starts for Full Gear, and then we're going to go right in to the pay-per-view. So it's probably going to not be really worth it for me to spend a whole lot of times on predictions here, since many of you aren't going to see this anyway. But I think for future episodes or for future pay-per-views for All Elite Wrestling or even NXT, I might have a different idea for these Winged Eagle podcasts on those dates. Before we get going, let me make sure I can be heard. All right. Mike sounds good. We're all looking good. Hello to everybody that is here already in the chat. Big wrestling day today, and as I said, I'm pulling double duty. I'm going to be up here right now. I'm going to discuss in a minute what we're going to get into today. Then I'm going to watch the pay-per-view. I'm going to live tweet with all of you, and then as soon as Full Gear ends, I'll be up here with a live review as well. So get a double shot of good mic work. I hope y'all can handle me. I promise I'll be gentle. But like I was saying, I think what I might do, and I had this idea last night, but I had the idea way too late. And I decided this at like midnight last night, and it just wasn't going to be possible. But I think maybe for AEW pay-per-views or for NXT pay-per-views, like takeovers on Saturdays, maybe what I'll try to do is get all my notes ready throughout the week and get them ready to go on Friday, because I always work Friday nights. I'll get home from work Friday night, I'll watch SmackDown, get those in my notes, and then record the Winged Eagle podcast just like this, on camera and everything, record that really, really late Friday night, and then throw it up on YouTube on Saturday morning. That way it can be up here for a good 12 hours before either pay-per-view starts, and that might be a better way to handle these going forward, so stay tuned. Coming up in a couple weeks on Survivor Series weekend for TakeOver, I might do that for the Winged Eagle on that Saturday, just to give this podcast a little time to kind of marinate on Saturdays, because I'm also on the West Coast. Everything is early for me, and I'm not really a morning person. Like right now, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So for most of you on the East Coast, you're talking 5 o'clock, and the Winged Eagles for you are usually at 6 o'clock. But for me, it's not really realistic for the type of schedule that I live to come up here at 10 o'clock in the morning or anything and do any live streams, because I can only do so much talking with one bloodshot eye, you know what I mean? So anyway, I'm kind of experimenting with the Saturday stuff. Me putting this podcast on Saturdays does create a problem for takeovers and AEW, but we'll get it together. We'll figure it out, and I think for the meantime, this will work just fine, because I know you guys are loyal, and a lot of you guys will be hanging out here in the chat anyway. Just going to say hi to you guys real quick before we get into things. And like I said, we're not going to spend a ton of time on AEW because the pay-per-view starts here in just a little bit. But I will roll through a few of my favorite moments from Dynamite this week. I'll give a quick prediction rundown of Full Gear, because I'm not really sure, with AEW, they don't really have a track record yet. So we're not really sure what they're used to doing. I don't know if they're going to have some internal we always must have a title change on pay-per-views rule or anything like that. So my predictions are going to be pretty quick, and I'm just going to pull them right out of my ass. In addition to that, we'll talk about the really huge ratings news this week and a significant jump for NXT that I predicted. I said NXT is going to come very close to beating AEW, but not quite, and that's literally exactly what happened. We'll get into Raw and SmackDown, of course, and NXT. So you've got Raw, SmackDown, and NXT all invading each other this week, setting up for Survivor Series. We're also setting up for War Games, and we've got wrestling all over the place right now. And since it's this like faction warfare going on in WWE right now, we've got each show seems like they have some sort of a recruiting thing going on. SmackDown is trying to get Daniel Bryan recruited into a faction. Triple H is trying to recruit Seth Rollins. Everybody's trying to get into the War Games matches on NXT. It's a really kind of chaotic time right now, but it's also fun. And like I said this past week, and I also said on social media this week, that I have zero faith in WWE for being able to sustain anything great for the long term. However, between now and Survivor Series, we have all three of these shows have the potential to be good. Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, with all of these different pieces of talent invading. So it might at least make for some good TV for the next couple of weeks, but right after that, we're into December, and we know how much that sucks. So I don't think it will really last, but at least for right now, November should be pretty badass. And I'm expecting, based on the card, a pretty solid Full Gear show tonight. I think everything looks good. I think the card looks solid, and I think we're in for a fun night of wrestling. So I hope you guys can join in. I'm sorry that I will not be live reacting to Full Gear. I'm kind of done doing that, doing the live reactions to the pay-per-views. Want to go back and doing get back to doing just reviews now. So should be fun later on tonight to discuss what took place at Full Gear. As usual, like I've been trying to do in every episode of the Winged Eagle going forward, I want to shout out all my current patrons. And again, just like last week, I want to apologize for this white light that's about to be in my face. Patreon does not have a dark mode. But I want to thank all current patrons right now, the Double ZTV, Zach, Claudio Clavadetcher, Stephen Myers, Josiah Blevins, Damian Elwell Sr., Nathan Walker, Michael Cuomo, Blake Moran, Keith Salyers, J. Carg Music, John Redifer, Barry MK400, Daniel Rodriguez, Mr. Steve, Christian Collins, John Riffle, and John Anderson. Thank you so much, guys, for your current patronage. And I know there's many more patrons than that. These are just the current ones. And thank you to everybody that's been supporting this channel for so long. Speaking of support of this channel, about a week ago, I did my Crown Jewel live review. We did that for charity. I took all the super chats and the ad revenue and added to that my own little donation as well, and I sent that over to SammyForSyria.com yesterday. I wanted to put that it was from the GoodMicWork listeners, but it wouldn't let me. It was very official, so I had to put my name on there, and that's all that it would let me do. But thank you to everybody that did donate and participated for that live review. And it wasn't much. We only donated $70, but, at the same time, it did feel good to kind of do something like that for charity, and it's a really good cause, and they're very, very close to reaching the goal that they were trying to meet to get these mobile medical units active over there in Syria. So thank you very much to everybody that participated in that as well. As far as the order of events that we're going to talk about now, I'm going to talk about AEW first, because like I said, Full Gear is about to start here in just a little bit. As soon as this podcast is over, you guys are going to get away from your computer, hop on your couch, and watch Full Gear, right? That's what you're going to do, right? Hopefully. Well, that's what I'm going to do. Just purchased it on BR Live a little while ago, and I'm looking forward to the show. So let's knock out some AEW thoughts first, and then I'll backtrack and do a little bit with WWE, and we can take our time with that. And if any super chats come in, I'll be sure to answer those in between segments. Just making sure there's no technical issues, according to you guys. You guys know how these podcasts can be. All right, we're looking good. And yes, Austin, thank you very much, dude, for that $2 super chat. Do you think the Kabukis and Corbin need new songs? We'll talk about that later. Yeah, I do. Corbin, I don't like his song, but I don't necessarily think he's in line for a new one. The Kabukis, however, I don't like those super lazy, you just mash two themes together, you play one for 20 seconds, then you play the other. I hate that. If you're going to take the time to put two people together as a tag team and give them title belts, at least give them some, give them a nice mashup or something, or create some new music for them. Bobby Roode and Dolph Ziggler are kind of like the same thing. So yeah, we'll talk about all that as we go through here, and we get into WWE after AEW. Pretty small audience in here as well, because I am up here an hour early. I usually go live at 3 p.m., so some of you, or my time anyway, some of you might not even know that I'm up yet, but I wanted to at least try to get up here and beat Full Gear, the Full Gear pre-show on the air. This past week's Dynamite was a great show. I thought it was awesome. Now, I talked about the ratings. Dynamite stayed right around where they're at. I kind of feel like they're plateauing now. They're going to be right probably under 1 million viewers going forward pretty consistently, you would think, until, maybe things change and ratings can increase for them. But what the big surprise was NXT taking that super drastic jump, and gaining a couple 100,000 viewers, all based on the invasion angle that they're doing with Survivor Series and the understanding that there could be some Raw or SmackDown talent or both showing up on NXT, and that really helped them. So again, like I say with with AEW, NXT took a big jump there, but can they sustain that? Because we know why they jumped that high, because of the possibility of other talent showing up. And I expressed my concern with that on social media as well, that we don't want WWE getting that idea in their head that the only way to defeat Dynamite in the ratings is to bring in Raw and SmackDown guys, because before you know it, the big dog is going to be at Full Sail, and we don't need that shit. So almost in a weird way, I didn't want NXT to beat AEW in the ratings, because I know how Vince is, and I know it's Triple H's baby, that's NXT, but if WWE sees that ratings result and they try to decipher why they took that big jump, well, it must be because Raw and SmackDown guys. So let's just do that shit every week. And that's kind of, even though it's cool, for us to see, I know I'm jumping ahead here, but for us to actually witness AJ Styles in an NXT ring was a pretty cool thing to see on Wednesday. So I don't mind stuff like that. I just hope they don't get ridiculous with it. And I really hope that NXT hasn't been sacrificed for the good or for the purpose of this wrestling war with AEW. You know, AEW announced that they're going to be on Wednesday night, so WWE said, let's just put NXT on Wednesday night too, changing the show up a little bit. Now it's 2 hours. Now it's on TV. You've already got Raw and SmackDown guys infiltrating the show. It's reported that in the beginning of the year, they're going to start exploring outside venues, outside of Full Sail, and doing some, you know, more touring for their TV shows. And the entire identity of NXT could now be compromised and changed, all based on WWE's, you know, intent on cock-blocking AEW at every pass. So that's my only concern. You know, I know in WWE's eyes, the ratings increase is good news, and I think that's good news for everybody. I just worry how WWE's going to react to that. That's my only concern. But anyway, back to Dynamite. As good as NXT was, Dynamite was really good as well. I think my feelings on the two shows are reflected exactly by the ratings. I was pretty much ready and primed to give NXT the nod for the better show this week, but Dynamite was just fun. It's fun every week. I mean, it really is fun every week with that bonkers brawl that almost, you know, they almost went full circle. It was like a cool, crazy end of the show, go home to a pay-per-view, show closing brawl like you see a lot. But then it treaded into the ridiculous when so many people were getting involved, and then it ended awesome again by the end of it. So it was just a fun kind of roller coaster ride of a main event. I absolutely loved that. I think what really made me give the nod to AEW just by a hair this week was not the Cody promo, which I'll talk about, but the Jericho video package, kind of spoofing what Cody Rhodes had done, I think like the week before. And, oh my God, it was so funny. It was meant to be dramatic, but it was just funny as shit. It opens up with Jericho just kind of sitting there in a daze, and he kisses Sammy Guevara on the head, which I marked out for and included in the thumbnail of this video because I thought it was so hilarious. They had Patricia Bobsky, which I almost lost my shit. Patricia Bobsky is Jericho's friend's aunt from church, or Jericho's aunt's friend from church, I believe. But Bobsky, isn't that what Jericho's name was on the Southpaw? Wasn't he Clint Bobsky, right? So the fact that they tied in that name was hilarious. Sammy Guevara said that calling Jericho the youngest AEW champion of all time was wonderful. That was the best segment of the week. And I'm sorry, Cody, I fucking loved your promo, which has been another topic of debate online, which I think is fucking stupid. But as great as I thought Cody's promo was, I'm a sucker for comedy, and the Jericho stuff just had me laughing my balls off. So great stuff there. I'm giving the nod to AEW primarily because of that video package. And Chris Jericho being, you know, accepting the great responsibility of having to find the best place for Bubbly after a pay-per-view. It's a tough responsibility, but it's one that he accepts as champion, as Le Champion. He's going to find the best place for Bubbly. And if I was in Jericho's inner circle, I would trust him to find the best place for Bubbly. Great shit. The Cody Rhodes promo, of course, was phenomenal. I think it was getting a lot of praise from a lot of people in the business. So when I see fans, when I see a 24-year-old fucknut arguing with a 23-year-old shitbag about whether or not this promo is good, they can both go jump in a toilet. I don't care. I've seen a lot of praise from people who know what the fuck they're talking about on Cody Rhodes' promo. It blew my mind that this thing was actually debated. I think the problem is that some people maybe heavily praised it, too heavily praised it, overly praised it, which triggers people that don't think the promo was that great, and then it sparks a war, and it's what I call it, just adds to the stupid war. Because that's what I've coined, this whole thing, the stupid war, because that's what it is. So I saw a lot of that online, and I just kind of just laughed at it. I'm like, the promo was fucking great. It does feel real. You know, when Cody called Jericho a stupid dick, you know, maybe he went a little bit over the top with the emotion. A lot of fans didn't like that he took a shot at the WWE, you know, the Ellis Island, you know, comment and all of that. But again, I defend the either side calling the other out, provided it doesn't go overboard. And I saw a lot of fans saying shit like that. They should worry about their own product and not so much WWE. And I'm like, I usually have that agreement. I usually agree with that. But I do think you need a little bit of that because that's what makes rivalries fun. And I know I shit on the fans a lot of times for arguing with each other as well, but that adds to the fun as well. The problem is the fans ruin the fun, and they can't have a spirited debate or a fun discussion or who they like better. It's all, if you don't see it my way, then you're a fucking dumbass and I'm going to block you. People don't know how to talk. So even though you don't want to completely be obsessed with the other promotion, and I think fans don't need to be completely obsessed with the fans on the other side, you do need a little bit of that to help fuel that rivalry. And so far, I have not seen All Elite Wrestling make the mistakes that I felt TNA made. I felt TNA did pay too much attention to WWE. I felt like TNA did hang on WWE's every word and reacted to everything they did and tried to model their show after WWE. Once they signed Hogan and Bischoff, I'm like, well, that's it for them. Now it's the square ring, it's Hall, it's Nash, it's X-Pac, it's Bischoff, it's Hogan, it's all these fuckers in the ring going completely against the identity that they swore to us that they were. We're alternative. We got a 6-sided ring. We have better athletes. We have better wrestling. If you want to find good professional in-ring wrestling, you aren't going to find it anywhere any better than TNA. And for a very, very short amount of time, they accomplished that. But instead of capitalizing on that, and as JR would say, dance with what brung ya, they decided they wanted to be just like WWE, except an extremely smaller version of them. And then they want to go to Monday nights, and then they came to realize how truly small and insignificant they really were. And even with Hall and Nash and Bischoff and all those big names and Flair and Jeff Hardy and Kurt Angle, didn't mean shit at the end of the day, because nobody's going to be able to out WWE. WWE is the best at being WWE. So don't try to be like them. And I think that's what was a big part of TNA's downfall. I don't see that with All Elite Wrestling. The fans jump out down their case, and I'm usually one that gets super annoyed by that. Because I just murdered any respect that I had for TNA back in the day, where I kind of was an asshole. Hell, this YouTube channel was birthed out of me watching delusional people on YouTube telling me that TNA is going to put WWE out of business in 6 months. I'm like, time to school you, boys. And I think that's why my channel was really made. So I'm no really better than anybody else when I criticize people for arguing and shit. But I think that I have a better grasp on maybe reality than some of them, because I'm just not seeing that with AEW. I think it's perfectly fine for NXT and AEW to mention the other side here and there. I like that. Just don't become obsessed. And in Cody's promo, he did not seem obsessed to me. AEW did not seem obsessed. We'll talk about Darby Allin too. Had an interview at StarCast, took a little shot at WWE. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't make it your primary focus. And I like how the fans get mad when they do the same thing. You see Twitter, you read arguments. Have you ever seen anybody be able to praise AEW without mentioning WWE? Every one of them. Every AEW crazy fan that's out there, they cannot compliment their program without taking a shot at WWE. This is why they're so much better. AEW had a great show tonight. I'm like, great. AEW had a great show. WWE should not be in your tweet. WWE has nothing to do with it. You're talking about AEW. You enjoyed their show. What the fuck does WWE have to do with any of that? Why are you saying it? So the fans are just as guilty as the fans on the other side are accusing AEW of being. So everybody is like that. And so far, because trust me, I said this before AEW started. You can go back and listen to all my podcasts. I was saying very adamantly that AEW needs to do what they can to avoid making the same mistakes TNA did. And so far, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing AEW make those mistakes. And any sort of comments, shots that they take at WWE has not crossed any lines, in my opinion. Maybe it crossed some of yours, but it didn't cross any for me. I think it's all in good fun, and it's no different than Triple H calling them a bunch of piss ants or whatever at the Hall of Fame. You got to have a little bit of that back and forth. Just don't let it get nasty, ugly, overtake everything to where that's your company's number one obsession, is not only beating WWE, but harming them and shit like that. And it should be the same thing on the other side for WWE. So in terms of Cody's promo, whatever people thought that wasn't so great about it, I think it's nitpicking, because I read a lot of the arguments to people that say it wasn't a great promo, And it's nitpicking. That's all it is. It's people that are mad that he cut a good promo, upset at the AEW fans for getting too excited. It's not the promotion these fans have a problem with. It's the fans on the other side. Clearly, plain as day. It's transparent as glass. I see through you. I know what you're mad about. I know what you're thinking. And that's what people are doing. That's just all they're doing online. So I am trying my best, not to get involved in this, but I was really surprised that some of the tweets I was getting tagged in about the Cody promo, I'm like, are we not allowed to like this? Because think about it. Cody Rhodes cut an awesome promo, which last time I checked was a really awesome thing. And so something awesome in wrestling, something good that happened in wrestling, one of the better segments that we saw all week across the board on all 4 shows, one of the better moments of the week, still manages to get a shit ton of debate and heated arguments on social media. Y'all are all crazy. Anyway, excellent promo by Cody Rhodes, and in the promo, he announced a couple of things for his match tonight against Chris Jericho. The big career announcement that he was trying to make the week before was that if he does not win the AEW title, then he can never challenge for the AEW title again. And I love that because he ain't going to win. I want Jericho to win tonight. This is going to be perfect. This, because he's an executive and this kind of gets this match out of the way and then gets him out of title contention for a little while and creates a brand new story. Because if he loses tonight, then technically he's not supposed to get another shot, which is bullshit because he's an executive, which they can easily correct that in writing. You can just write that away. Poof, go away. So just like Lex Luger back in the day or any other star that had a stipulation where they can never get a world title shot again, what happens? They get another world title shot. So Cody, stipulation or no stipulation, if he loses tonight, he will get another shot and he will be AEW champion one day, 1,000,000% guaranteed. So you can do a whole bunch of different things here tonight. You can have the inner circle simply just attack and cost Cody Rhodes the match, which is very likely. And then he can go on, this redemption story or what do I do now type of shit. Or, AEW's waiting to pull the trigger on an MJF heel turn at some point. I would love for them to drag this out and get the fans thinking it's going to happen like 5 or 6 different times and then it never happens. Just blue balling the shit out of us and then punching us in the face with it sometime down the line. But when you look at what's at stake tonight, I think this is a really good candidate to get MJF over and turn him heel on Cody tonight and do it now. Well, I guess he's already a heel, but just turn him on his friend, Cody. Because if he does that and he costs Cody a chance at this championship, a chance at this great moment, that's going to be a real heated feud. Number one, it's your best friend. It's your student turning on his mentor, costing him a title, ruining his life. Those 2 guys could run for a year off that. Maybe not a year, but maybe not in WWE. They couldn't do it for a year, but AEW might be able to pull it off. They could have all sorts of different matches and TV segments and have this thing drag out pay-per-view after pay-per-view to where when you finally get to the blow-off, 9 months from now or whatever, do something fun, do something crazy, do a double turn MJF completely babyface and have Cody go heel. I remember when Jericho, what match was it? Didn't he lose like the ladder match or something to Shawn Michaels at a pay-per-view, and then he came back and won the world title in the main event, like as a last-minute replacement? Have the blow-off between Cody and MJF. Have MJF beat Cody in the blow-off to win the feud. Cody's now a heel somehow. You can do it in that match or whatever. Move MJF into being a babyface, and then later on in the same night, after Cody loses to him, he's a last-minute replacement. Like if you have an AEW multi-man title match or some shit in the main event, he can be a last-minute replacement, enter the main event using his executive power or whatever, and win the title, after that long run. So there's a whole bunch of different ways they could go here, but I think there's a story in Cody losing. If he loses tonight, you can run with that for a while because there's stories to tell now. Where if he wins, it's just kind of lame. I'm not ready to see him win that title yet. When Cody wins the AEW title, I will be happy for him. I was emotional as hell when he won the NWA title at All In a year ago or whatever. So that was nice, and I think Cody will get that moment in All Elite Wrestling for sure, but I don't want to see it yet. And I don't know. Jericho has signed on. Did you guys see this? He's going to be taking on Tanahashi, right, at Wrestle Kingdom, which is awesome. can't wait to see that shit. But I didn't think AEW and New Japan were really on good terms. And I know Jericho's contract allows him to take other dates, but I don't know if that makes him uncomfortable and they don't want him AEW champion going into Wrestle Kingdom, because during his New Japan promo, there was no mention of him being AEW champion. They're almost pretending like it does. So I'm sure they'll mention it, in commentary and stuff when the match happens. So I don't know if he's going to keep the belt or not. I've been saying all along that I really want Jericho to hang on to this belt because I'm going on the Jericho cruise in January and I want him to be champion there. I just think that would be cool. So I'm rooting for Jericho for a lot of different reasons tonight, not only for the good of the storyline and shit like that, but I just want to see Jericho hold the belt a little bit longer, because the longer he does, the cooler it's going to be when he does drop it. And it could beat anybody, by that point, because everybody's going to get a taste of it. Omega will likely be next in line. Moxley, I'm sure, will be champion. And Cody will have his run with it as well. And Pac is on fire. So you've got some serious contenders in that company right now. So I'm looking forward to the pay-per-view. Some other highlights of Dynamite. The match that opened the show was really good between Pac and Trent Beretta, except I don't know what went on there in the finish. Pac had hit the Black Arrow and went for the pin, and the referee just stops the 3 count. So I don't know who botched this here. One thing I'm pretty sure about is that Trent Beretta was not going to kick out of that either way. So I don't think Trent fucked it up, but I think Pac was either supposed to lift his head off the mat, like kind of no way, and then lock him in the submission, which is a very Pac thing to do. So he either forgot and didn't do that, and the referee remembered, which is why his hand didn't come down, or that was the finish, and the referee thought it was going to be a submission. Somebody fucked up there. It did not look good, and it sucked because the match itself I thought was really good. Just a random match, just kind of thrown together, but still a good opener, solid opener. And just the botch finish was a little bit off. I caught the Britt Baker promo. I think that was the video package that was on AEW Dark last week, where she's talking about Bea Priestley, and they've got their match on the buy-in pre-show today. So they're going to be a pre-show match, which kind of sucks, but I really enjoyed the promo. She's a badass. I like the way she talks. She's throwing all of her dental lingo in there. I'll rip your mandibular monglata off your fucking temper mandingo joint, or whatever the fuck she said. She goes, basically, that means I'll rip your jaw off. Calls her a piece of shit, which I loved. So that's right up front. One thing that I am seeing about AEW Dynamite that is better. I'm liking the promos a lot better. I'm not so quick to say that scripted promos are always the problem, because think about it. Cody's promo was probably heavily scripted by him. He probably scripted it. So it's not necessarily scripting promos that's the problem. It's who is scripting the promos. And if you have if you're that person and that's your gimmick, you would think that you would know your gimmick better than writers do. So maybe guys they're allowed a lot more creative freedom, which is what AEW has been talking about a lot. We're allowed creative freedom. We can go out there and present ourselves the way we want to be presented, not the way WWE wants to present us. And I see a lot of that in the Cody promo, in the Britt Baker promo, but it's not like they're coming up with everything. They do have, I'm sure some writers there and creative people that are helping them out, but it's not so micromanaged. It's not where every syllable, period, comma, and exclamation point is written out for you like it is in WWE, and you can tell the clear difference there between the two and the type of promos they cut. They swear a little bit more, which I think is cheap, just to be able to say shit here and there, and then the fans think it's a better promo. But even without the cursing, without the swearing, I still think the promos feel just a little more genuine in AEW. When you watch Seth Rollins on the mic talking and stuff, compared to Cody or some of these other guys, I'm enjoying so far, even though we're only a few weeks in, I'm enjoying the talent being allowed some creative freedom. We will see if they start having problems, and giving everybody too much creative freedom does create some issues, because you got to remember, you're live. It's not like you're taped and you got a bunch of shows in the can and you can alter and edit these things. So they're going live every week with a lot of talent that isn't really used to being on a stage like that, and we'll see how it goes in the future. But overall, I think Dynamite's doing pretty well. I've enjoyed all the shows that they've had so far, and I've enjoyed all the shows that NXT has run head-to-head with them. Wednesdays are fun, man. They really are. So Dynamite was a trip. I really enjoyed the show this past week, and one of the more fun shows that they've had so far. Let's run through the Full Gear card, because what do we got? An hour and a half. The buy-in pre-show is going to start. Speaking of that, like I just mentioned, Britt Baker taking on Bea Priestley. Britt's winning this all the way, 100%. She's probably going to be built up. Since she already did have a title match and lost, she's probably on the comeback trail here. And I would think that if a heel beats Riho, Britt Baker will then defeat that heel at some point. So title is in her future. We've got Joey Janela taking on Shawn Spears with Tully Blanchard. I got to go Shawn Spears in that match. We've got Santana and Ortiz taking on the Young Bucks. I guess I'll go, oh God, there's going to be a lot of elite guys in this winning tonight, but no, I'm going Bucks. I think they lost, they lost in the tag team tournament. I think they're due for a win here. So let's go with the Bucks over, I keep forgetting if it's Pride and Powerful or Proud and Powerful. Can't remember. Pac over Hangman Adam Page. Man, I'll tell you what, I was really close to maybe picking Page here in an upset, but I really like the run that Pac is on. I think he's only lost once. They've been releasing their power rankings and their records and shit like that. And I think I'd keep Pac rolling here. And I'm going to put him over Hangman Page in this match. Unsanctioned, lights out match between Jon Moxley and Kenny Omega. Apparently, this match will not go on either man's win-loss record because it's unsanctioned. Jon Moxley cut a pretty good promo on Dynamite as well. I think it was last week where he expressed being annoyed by that. He's like, you mean to tell me if I go into this pay-per-view and I beat Kenny Omega, this big major star, that it's not going to mean anything and it means it doesn't happen? What does that mean for my title aspirations and shit like that? So I kind of like that little stipulation in the match there. As far as who's going to win, Moxley and Omega in an unsanctioned lights out match, I'm going Moxley. I'm going to go Moxley. Yeah. They had a really fun kind of face-off on Dynamite as well. I think Moxley had the barbed wire bat. Kenny had a barbed wire broom. They were all part of that big show-closing brawl on Wednesday, which was a lot of fun. Yeah, I'll go Moxley on that, but I'm not really sure. We've got a triple threat match for the AEW tag team titles. They had the bronze medal match on AEW Dynamite, and Private Party won that, which inserted them into this triple threat. Now, it's the Lucha Bros versus the Private Party versus SoCal Uncensored, who just won the titles. Again, does AEW feel like they have to have a title change on a pay-per-view? Because all of these champions are new. You just crowned them all. So I'm not picking any to lose. I'm going to keep the belts on SoCal Uncensored, and I'm going to keep the belt on Riho, who's taking on Emi Sakura. Is that Emi or Emi? Can't remember, but they had a run-in last week. They were part of, I think, the tag match, right? And Sakura got the pin. So I think Riho will continue to run for just a little while longer. I think a heel will eventually beat her, and then I think Britt Baker will beat that heel. That's just my opinion. And I know these predictions might be shit. I could be wrong on all of these. I haven't really given them much thought, to be honest with you. And finally, in the main event, AEW World Title match, we just talked about it. Cody Rhodes challenging Chris Jericho for the title. There's going to be 3 judges in this match that they'll be available for a tiebreaker. So they're really trying to present this a lot more as sport. They're going to have judges, I guess, scoring this match or whatever. I don't think it's going to go the 60-minute time limit. I think Jericho at age 47 or 48, whatever he is, if he had to go 60, he could. But I'd rather him not go 60, so I'm hoping it doesn't get to that. And of course, with the stipulation that if Cody loses, he does not get another shot at the AEW title. But I'm predicting Cody to lose. I think he loses some way. I think Jericho either has a whole lot of help from the inner circle, or you do a big heel turn. I keep saying heel turn, but really it's just a double cross by MJF on Cody Rhodes. So maybe one of those things happen. I don't think AEW is going to do a schmoz. I don't think AEW will have Chris Jericho get disqualified or anything weird like that, because one thing you got to think about is that NXT really gained a lot of ground on them this week in the ratings, and AEW might feel like they got to come out strong with a hot show on Wednesday. So they might pull a couple of swerves here and do something to make sure and ensure that they continue to roll in this ratings war on Wednesday night, considering NXT came so close to beating them. So they could pull something out of their ass here, but even though I think this pay-per-view looks great on paper, I've predicted 0 title changes here. So if we're not going to get any title changes, what kind of great moments are we going to get to make up for that? Are we going to get any surprises? any new appearances, any heel turns, shit like that. So I could be wrong here. I think we're going to at least see a heel turn or a title change somewhere in here, and I've really predicted none of that. So we'll see how tonight goes, but make sure you join me on Twitter at GoodMicWork. I'll be live tweeting, and then immediately following the show, I'm going to be up here to do a live review. The link to that is in the upper right of the screen, so go ahead and save that. Click the notifications bell or throw it in a folder. Do whatever you got to do. Just be there later on tonight. Let's backtrack now and talk about WWE, but before I do that, I'm going to cruise on over here to the chat and see if I missed some super chats. I know I got one or two in here. Austin, I got yours already. Chris, thank you, brother, for the $5. The last thing they should do is have Cody win it, then lose it back on Wednesday Dynamite to get much out of Cody's stipulation. That feels too much like WWE. Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't want to see them do that either. I don't think that they would. The only thing that makes me wonder is with NXT kind of breathing down their neck, and maybe they just want to make sure they have an awesome show, so they want to do something crazy on this pay-per-view to get people talking and tune in on Wednesday. But I don't think they need to do anything drastic, and I'd just like to see Jericho hang on to it tonight, So I'm kind of with you on that, Chris. I don't want to see them do that at all. Ryan Rhoda, thank you for that piece of information. I did not know that. Today is Chris Jericho's 49th birthday. Chris Jericho, happy birthday, man. You better not lose tonight. I didn't know that. Today's his birthday. Oh, my God. He's going to have extra special birthday bubbly tonight if he wins. Oh, that gives him all the more reason to win. He has to win. Although, actually, it's a win-win situation here because imagine Chris Jericho winning a huge title match like this, ending Cody Rhodes' hopes to ever be AEW champion, and it's his birthday. The bubbly is going to be flowing. But also imagine Jericho losing on his birthday. That would be pretty fucking funny too, and the bubbly might also be flowing, just for different reasons, to mask the pain, I guess. So either way, Jericho, I think, is going to be extremely entertaining after his match tonight. But like I said, we're going to backtrack now. Talk some WWE. We're going to run down Raw, NXT, and SmackDown and give a quick preview and rundown of the War Games and Survivor Series card. We'll start with Raw, and I'm not going to go into everything that happened on Raw and SmackDown because some shit was just not worth talking about. I don't think Raw was very good this week, and I don't think SmackDown was very good last night. Even though the rating was very good for SmackDown last night, it was a tape show. They were in Manchester, and wasn't as good as last week's, anywhere close to that. But Raw this week, their rating is in as well. They stayed almost the same. They did a 2.13, up just like a couple of percentage points from the week prior. So they kind of maintained their rating this week. Show opened up with Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar hitting the ring. We knew they were going to be there because Heyman announced that Lesnar's quitting SmackDown, which is just still ludicrous to me that he can just say, I quit, and I'm going to go over there now. I just kind of don't like that. Wish they would have made a little bit more sense of that. I think he did bring up some draft picks and things like that, and I pitched the idea of sending Seth over to SmackDown, because he's an equal star, of that magnitude, and he can go over there. But he's staying on Raw, for at least for right now, because he's been named team captain of Raw at Survivor Series, which I'll talk about in a minute. But anyway, Heyman and Lesnar are in the ring. Heyman is basically reiterating what he said on SmackDown, is that they're going to hunt for Rey Mysterio. They know Rey is in the building. They want to find him, and he's a dead man, right? So they head backstage looking for him. They don't even go very far. Like Brock Lesnar, all he does, it's just so unrealistic. It's why I hate them sometimes, because he goes right through Gorilla, and he's literally screaming like a madman in front of everybody. Where's Rey? Where's Rey? Grabbing a guy with some purple hair by the neck and slamming him on an equipment crate. Mind you, he's 20 feet from Gorilla. He just came from the ring. It's a huge arena. Do you want to, walk around the motherfucker for a little while? Check in some closets, check in some bathrooms, check in, some locker rooms, maybe catering? He's just out there. He's expecting Rey Mysterio to be sitting on the fucking floor in a hallway, right before you go into Gorilla? That's stupid. So he starts losing his shit immediately upon entering the backstage area. Pulls another guy out of a car and assaults him, eventually gets frustrated, finds his way out to the announce desk, which is even fucking dumber, and starts demanding to Jerry Lawler and Dio Madden and Vic Joseph to bring out Rey Mysterio. I'm like, dude, they're at the announce desk. They're not back there. They don't know where he is. Is Brock the dumbest person that's ever lived? Just use your brain, Brock. Look around. They should have done some segments where Brock's like walking through the arena, kicking doors down, ripping shit apart. He can assault some people on the way too, kill a couple of production guys. Who cares, right? Do all of that, but it was just so dumb and unrealistic. I didn't like it, but what I did like was Dio Madden. Props to him. He's a lot taller than I kind of give him credit for. He's got a couple of inches on Brock, I think. Brock is getting in Jerry Lawler's face. And Paul Heyman is like, this time you're going to die for real on TV or whatever he said. Said something pretty fucked up referencing Lawler's heart attack from back in 2012. But what I liked is Dio Madden got up and protected Lawler, which is kind of, Lawler paid that forward years ago. Because remember when, that's when he turned babyface actually, when Taz was giving Jim Ross a hard time. I was actually in the building for that SummerSlam match in Raleigh, SummerSlam 2000. But during the buildup of that, Taz is kind of like bullying JR, and Lawler up until this point is a heel on commentary, and he's witnessing all this. And finally, 1 week on Raw or SmackDown or whatever it was, Taz is really getting in JR's face, and King gets up and punches Taz and stands up for Jim Ross, stands up for the old announcer. And now it's kind of cool to see Dio Madden kind of hand that back to Lawler. I kind of was just a nice little spot there. But of course, he got murdered for his kindness, and Brock wound up putting Dio Madden through a table. Right after that was when Ray came out. Now, this I did like. I hated the build up to this. I hated Brock. Excuse me. Did I shut my mic off? No, I didn't. I hated Brock looking for Rey Mysterio. But I loved Ray coming in from behind and nailing him with the lead pipe. That was great. Just wore Brock out on the stage with that thing in a great moment. And the match is now set for Survivor Series. Brock Lesnar defending the WWE title against Rey Mysterio. Where is Survivor Series? Chicago. What arena is it in? Allstate, right? What arena was WrestleMania 22 in? Just saying. I don't know if lightning can strike twice for Ray. This seems like a massive mismatch. Brock Lesnar just got done beating Kofi Kingston in a half a second, and then he beat Cain Velasquez, the guy that handed his ass to him in the UFC, in less than 2 minutes at Crown Jewel. Brock is pretty strong right now. So we got a couple of weeks to Survivor Series until my official prediction, and I'm not ruling out Rey Mysterio doing something crazy and stealing the WWE title from Brock, but I don't see it. I think Brock's going to beat Ray, and I know, I can fucking feel it in my heart and in my gut. Something's going to happen with Dominic. They wouldn't have him be a part of all this if they didn't have plans for him. I had predicted a Dominic heel turn way back during the Samoa Joe feud. That's when I thought it was going to happen because Dominic looks exactly like Samoa Joe. And I'm like, he could be his mentor. Put him in a pair of those trunks and put a towel around his neck, and he can just be an ass-kicking monster just like Samoa Joe is. I thought they were going to do it then. But maybe now, Ray's put his son in some pretty rough spots a couple of times, bringing him to TV and getting the kid murdered. Maybe he'll wind up turning on his dad or something like that. Something's going to happen there. Not that Brock needs help to beat Ray. I don't even think Dominic needs to really interfere to help Brock win because Brock doesn't need help winning. But I still think he'll play a role in that somehow. So, interesting match, and it should be a fun match because anytime Brock is in there with someone small, the matches are good. He had a great match with Balor, great match with AJ, great match with Bryan. Did Brock work with Balor, or am I making that up? He might not have worked with Balor. I don't remember, but I know he worked with Bryan and AJ, and those matches are all good. So, Survivor Series will be no different. What's going on, all y'all? In the chat, Angie, how you doing? Good to see you. All right, just kind of reading a few comments in here. Really low audience in here today, but I kind of expected that because it's kind of a weird one with this pay-per-view coming up here in just about an hour. But the Lesnar stuff on Raw, there was a lot about it that I hated, but there was a lot about it that I liked as well. And I'm looking forward to the match at Survivor Series, even though I don't think Ray stands that much of a chance of winning that match. Charlotte and Natalya have been randomly thrown together as a tag team, which on paper is great. The niece of Bret Hart and the daughter of the Nature Boy, fuck yeah. Where do I sign up for that? But they've both been in the company for a while. They've been rivals for a while. Neither girl is really especially beloved by the fans right now. And, WWE fans think they give everything to Charlotte, but she's kind of just thrown together in a makeshift team here. Charlotte is actually being treated currently like someone who WWE has no plans for or nothing for right at the moment. Because whenever they don't have anything for anybody, they tend to slap two people together in a tag team. And that's what they're doing with Charlotte. She wasn't a part of that all-women's match in Crown, or the first women's match in Crown Jewel. You would think, based on the fans' narrative, that that's what WWE would want for Charlotte, but she wasn't a part of that. She's not in any title picture right now, and she's not even going to be involved in, the NXT stuff either. I don't think, unless she's a part of some 5-on-5. But her and Natalya picked up a victory over the Kabuki Warriors on Raw, which kind of sucked because it makes me think they're now going to be given a title shot. And they might actually win the tag team titles from the Kabukis. I was hoping that the Kabuki Warriors would win without the Mist. I didn't want to see the Mist on Monday. We've seen the Green Mist too much. We didn't see the Green Mist because the Kabukis lost. So we're still yet to see them pick up a win without using that stupid Mist. But anyway, Charlotte and Natalya probably in line for a title shot that could come as quickly as this Monday on Raw. The Lashley, Lana, and Rusev drama continues, and it's just getting dumber by the week. I'm so over this angle, not going to spend too much time on it. Rusev's in the ring, cutting a promo, says he's over Lana, but he still wants a piece of Lashley's ass. Lashley comes out on crutches, says that he pulled his groin. Oh, that's a shame. How'd you do that, buddy? Hope you're going to be okay. Oh, how'd I do it, do you ask? By doing a nasty with Lana. So yeah, Lashley pulled his groin because he was absolutely annihilating poor Lana in the bedroom. So that was fun. He is not able to come down there and wrestle Rusev, so he's got a replacement in Drew McIntyre. Drew winds up getting DQ'd because Lashley, we know, is not hurt. It's all bullshit. He pulled a Jerry Lawler SummerSlam 1993 on us. Turns out he's totally fine. Attacks Rusev during the match, getting Drew DQ'd. And basically just a brawl ensued. So yeah, Lashley pulling his groin, doing the nasty with Lana. First of all, ew. And second of all, end this storyline, WWE. It sucks. Becky Lynch had a sit-down interview backstage with Chuck Caruso, and Shayna Baszler showed up out of nowhere. Baszler seems to be everywhere right now, and this gal is going to be pulling double duty on Survivor Series weekend, working War Games. War Games. A cage. Blood. War. No rules. And then has to go in the very next night to Survivor Series and face the two top women currently in all of WWE. So, going to be a long weekend for her, and she's showing up on every fucking show as well, and she just randomly showed up at this studio interview and sat down with Becky, and they kind of got in each other's faces. Don't even remember what was said. It was a little bit cringe, but I kind of am intrigued by that matchup. I know we're getting a triple threat at Survivor Series, but Becky and Shayna might be fun if we ever get that one-on-one as well. The Seth Rollins drama kicked off on Monday as well. Rollins, I guess any title aspirations he has right now was kind of on hold. He came out and cut kind of a somber promo. He was expressing his frustration of not knowing what he has to do, and doesn't know if he has it in him to continue and shit like that. Triple H then hits the ring and basically kind of offers Seth a chance to return to NXT. Now, Seth Rollins has joined up with Triple H in the past during the Shield breakup, and Triple H referenced that and even referenced the wars that the two of them have had as well. And basically gives him an ultimatum and say, you can join us in NXT and be one of us, but if you don't, you're either with us or you're against us. So once he says that, the entire Undisputed Era shows up. They're on the ring apron, basically threatening to attack Seth Rollins. But they kind of, I think they back up, right? Once they retreat, when it was the OC that comes out to help out Seth, so they're kind of standing there threatening Seth Rollins. AJ, Gallows, and Anderson come out on the stage and kind of even up the odds. Undisputed Era retreats, and that's when Dominik Dijakovic and who else was with him? Damian Priest, I think, jumped the barricade and they attacked the OC. So it was all a setup. Then Undisputed gets back involved. You get this huge brawl taking place on the outside of the ring. And the entire time in the ring, Seth Rollins is standing there untouched. He's not attacking anyone and he's not being attacked. So the Raw locker room then empties out, big brawl, NXT retreats, and that's the end of that. They cut backstage and Triple H is talking with Seth Rollins, and that's when Seth says, hey, if you want me to take on Adam Cole tonight, I want a shot at that NXT title. If you're going to recruit me to NXT and I'm going to show up there, I'd rather show up there as NXT champion. So they make Adam Cole defend the title on Friday against Daniel Bryan, and now he's got to defend it against Seth in the main event, which is great because now they put Adam Cole in a couple of really big match situations, 2 back-to-back main events on the main roster shows for Adam Cole. I think WWE's got plans for him, man. They really seem to like him. They're putting him in big match situations, and he's coming through. He's performing. A lot of people aren't sold on Cole, don't like his size and anything like that. But, Shawn Michaels, like I remember Kevin Nash made this analogy one time. He said, he goes, Shawn Michaels is the Michael Jordan of professional wrestling. So if the Michael Jordan of professional wrestling tells me that a wrestler is good, guess what? I'm not fucking arguing with him, because Adam Cole is good. And it amazes me how you can literally have the best wrestler that this planet has ever seen telling fans that a guy is good and they still won't accept it. So some people are not on the Adam Cole bandwagon. I am. I know he's like 180 pounds. Sorry that bothers you so much. Doesn't bother me. I thought both matches were awesome. Now, Cole did not win this one. I thought it would have been cool if they had Seth put him over, but I knew that wasn't going to happen. Not with the way Seth's been being treated and built, and the way The Fiend took the belt off of him wasn't even that conclusive. Rollins was destroying The Fiend, curb stomp after curb stomp, and electrocuting him and all that, and the dude still rises up to win the title. So I thought it was a good way to take the belt off of Seth and keep him strong. Seth is about to hit Adam Cole with the stomp. Undisputed Era interferes and causes the disqualification, and we had this major bench-clearing brawl as Raw went off the air. So Raw was not that great this week, but it did have a couple of moments, and I like the Seth Rollins stuff because you have to wonder, going into Survivor Series, if they're going to do some sort of like an Invasion 2001 type of thing. I just reviewed Survivor Series 2001 a few days ago, by the way. If they're going to do something like that, and somebody has to turn. You've got War Games and Survivor Series and all of these different matches. I think somebody from some brand has to turn and join to the other brand. And Seth Rollins was just announced, I think yesterday, as being the team captain for Monday Night Raw in the Raw, SmackDown, and NXT match at Survivor Series, which I still don't think we even know what that means. I mean, I was questioning that before, if it was going to be Raw and SmackDown teaming up to face NXT, but now it seems like it's going to be all 3 brands, and each brand is going to have a team, and each brand is going to have a team captain. So is it going to be 3 teams of 5? A triple threat 5-way? How the fuck do you do that? I have no idea what kind of match we're going to see at Survivor Series, but we do know Seth will captain Team Raw, and I can't help but think about Stone Cold Steve Austin at Invasion 2001, when he was Team WWE and then he turned. So I would love, since we've all been chomping at the bit to see a Seth Rollins heel turn, I would love for that to take place at Survivor Series, and Seth Rollins turns on Team Raw, joins NXT, maybe joins SmackDown, I don't know, but NXT would be fun. Sending Seth Rollins back there for a little while might be a good way to get the fans off his back, because the fans usually leave NXT alone. Even the hardcore WWE haters, most AEW fans don't shit on NXT. They really don't. Some maybe do, but you don't see it as bad. I know people say, oh, both fans are bad, equally as bad. Not totally, because there are plenty of NXT fans that just despise AEW, and you don't see that as much on their side, in my personal opinion. So I think if you get Seth and you put him on NXT, maybe just for a little while, I know that's probably can't be realistic for long term, but if Seth does turn, joins up with Triple H, and goes over to NXT as a heel, I don't even know where he fits into the title picture, because you already got Balor there, Ciampa there, Cole is still your champion. It's already crowded at the top in NXT. So I don't know if Seth really going there makes sense, but it would be cool as shit, would it not? So I'm hoping somebody turns on some brand and goes somewhere. It's got to happen, right? At Survivor Series. And speaking of NXT, pretty good show for them on Wednesday. Really good show. I enjoyed it, except for a couple of moments there that were horrible. And the Tainara and Santana Garrett horrific walkthrough sequence was 100 times worse than the botch of Pac and Trent. That's for sure. But like I said, AEW just edged him out because of that Jericho promo or the Jericho video package. But NXT was still a really fun show. OC opened up the show. They're showing outside, beating the hell out of the Undisputed Era outside the building. They're in the ring. AJ cuts a promo and says he's here at NXT and you want a war and we're taking it to you and all that shit. And just the sight of AJ in an NXT ring holding that NXT microphone was quite the sight to see. Perfect choice as the first guy to be in NXT, because he's one guy that hasn't already been there, because don't forget he bypassed NXT. A lot of us, during the rumors of AJ coming into WWE, thought he might have to go there first, but he leapfrogged that, went right to the main roster, and within 8 months, he was world champion. So we never got a chance to see AJ in the ring working a match with anybody, and they gave us that on Wednesday, which was awesome. So you had the OC was interrupted by Tommaso Ciampa and Keith Lee and Matt Riddle setting up your 6-man main event for later that night, which was really good. You know, it's so funny that AJ and Matt Riddle were mixing it up so much, because those two were two people that I had specifically mentioned when it came to this war with AEW. And I was saying to myself, I'm like, you know, WWE, if they really wanted to, they could probably beat AEW in the ratings whenever they wanted. If they wanted to take some drastic steps, this was before Survivor Series, before we knew what was going on there, before the invasion. I was saying, you know, they could just randomly take AJ Styles. If they can't seem to get a victory over AEW, all they got to do is just pluck one piece of talent from Raw or SmackDown, throw him in NXT, and give him a kick-ass match in the main event, and that might be enough to do it. And they could just take AJ Styles and send him there and put him one-on-one with Matt Riddle. We didn't get that, but it came damn close, and they mixed it up a lot in this match. Super good match, and my God, did they have some fun stuff that took place. My favorite spot of the match, I think, was near the end. You had everybody coming out. Finn Balor came out first and helped out AJ Styles and even gave him the Bullet Club guns and the click symbol and all of that. Cole wound up nailing AJ with one of the gnarliest super kicks I've ever seen. It was one of the best looking. It literally looked like it caught AJ square in the mush. AJ had Matt Riddle up for the Styles Clash. Cole slides in the ring and bam, hits him with it's just gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful super kick. And then he nails Tommaso Ciampa as well. So the whole thing was a no contest. It was just a big brawl. All the shows tonight. Did you notice that this week? Raw, AEW, and NXT all ended with like these bench clearing brawls to close the show. So I really liked all of that. And it's set up a really fun War Games match too, because you've got Undisputed Era, who's been involved in every single War Games match so far, taking on Tommaso Ciampa, Matt Riddle, Keith Lee, and one more person to be named. So whoever that person is, likely Finn Balor, but not really sure. I thought Finn Balor was going to work with Gargano, but maybe Balor gets involved in the War Games match, or maybe Gargano does. And then maybe Balor interferes. Not really sure what's going on. What I like about this is that it's almost confusing in a good way. There's so much going on that I really have no idea what direction they're going to go in at this point. I can't figure anything out yet. So as we get closer to War Games and Survivor Series, maybe, we'll get some more answers. But right now, I feel like they can go in a million different directions. And like I said, at least for the next couple of weeks on TV, we should have some good shows. There should be no excuse for WWE to give us shit shows, considering that you've got all the talent kind of bouncing back and forth, and we're going to see invasions and matchups that we're not used to seeing. No, Siri, I won't. Siri thinks I'm talking to her. My phone is on the floor. Be quiet, Siri. Let me shut Siri off. Hold on. All right. No, Siri, I'm not talking to you. That's kind of funny. So anyway, I'm excited for War Games and Survivor Series, both shows, just because they're giving us some possibilities for crazy shit. Now, speaking of the War Games matches, the women are having one as well. Now, we had a match on NXT. Like I said, Shayna Baszler's everywhere, right? She took on Dakota Kai in a really good match. Now, that's one area that I think NXT is far superior to AEW in by miles and eons, is the women's division. I think, as a matter of fact, I think NXT has a better women's division and is better at that portion of the show than AEW is at being better at WWE than anything else. You know what I mean? Did I even come out right? They are just so ridiculously superior in female talent to AEW. It's not even close. But Shayna and Dakota had a great little match here. Shayna tapped her out with a rear naked choke in a really awesome little contest there. After the match, all the women involved in War Games hit the ring. They're all brawling, including Mia Yim, who runs out there and just blasts and wears the hell out of people with a kendo stick. Just destroyed everyone, wearing Shayna Baszler out. Awesome moment there. So you had everybody fighting. I think they go to commercial, they come back, everybody's backstage, and Rhea Ripley is back there with all the women, and she announces that Mia Yim is now on the team, which, even though it really wasn't official, we were assuming that Dakota Kai was, and she basically just bumps Dakota right to her face. Dakota is there, selling her injury, and she's like, sorry, Dakota, you just didn't make the cut. And so you can tell there was some sadness there, some frustration. I feel like we're going to get a heel turn here as well, maybe from Tegan Nox, or Dakota could maybe find her way into this War Games match somehow. This is probably going to wind up coming back to bite Ripley in the ass, because the way I see this going is that, first of all, the War Games match is Rhea Ripley, Mia Yim, Tegan Nox, and Candice LeRae against Shayna Baszler, Bianca Belair, Io Shirai, and one more female. So what's good about this is that Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke are not involved in this match. They weren't ready. I did not want to see them in this match. And when they first started, when Regal announced the War Games match, I kind of mistakenly was under the assumption that they would be in the match, or one of them would be. And I didn't really think either one of them was ready for that. So I'm really pleased that they're not in there. So the heels have still got to pick up one more name to go in this match. But the way I see it going, considering that Baszler has double duty, I think the heels are going to win this War Games. I think Baszler's team wins War Games and Baszler loses at Survivor Series, because it would be really tough and almost hard to believe if Baszler has such a brutal War Games match the night before and then is able to beat the two champions in WWE, beat Becky Lynch, who main evented WrestleMania and defeated Ronda Rousey. I don't find that realistic. So I think Baszler is victorious at War Games, which will continue the feud with her and Rhea, and then she'll lose in the match at Survivor Series, and maybe not even necessarily lose. I would like to continue to protect Baszler. If you're going to do a finish at Survivor Series, I want to see Becky or Bayley get the pin. As a matter of fact, I want to see Bayley win that match at Survivor Series. That would be great bragging rights for her, right? So if she does, I want to see Becky eat the pin somehow. Keep Baszler strong, and then she is still going to fucking have that match with Rhea Ripley. I'm 1,000,000% convinced of it. Ripley's going to be the girl to take that belt off of her, and with Baszler victorious in War Games, it can continue the feud with Ripley and Baszler. We will get that one-on-one match in the future. They might want to do it on an NXT TV show to bust out a good rating against AEW and do a big title change on TV, or you save it for the Royal Rumble takeover and you do it there. That's my prediction. Baszler victorious at War Games and loses at Survivor Series. A couple of other notable matches on the show. Pete Dunne and Damian Priest was fantastic. Great opening match. Love the stuff at the end. Great little sequence in the end where Dunne, I think, avoids a nut shot from Damian Priest and gives him one of his own that went right into the finger snap and then locked him in the armbar, and Damian Priest tapped out. That was fun. Have you guys been seeing the video going around of the Tainara and Santana Garrett match? I was watching this on Wednesday, and I think I was either talking or not paying attention or something, but I didn't realize how horrible that was. Jesus, there was this one sequence, and it's all over Twitter, it's all over social media. You can go find it. There's this one little 15-second sequence where they're going through moves, but they're literally like rehearsing. They're practicing at the Performance Center. It's... There's another viral kind of meme or video that's out there. You've seen that big guy, the big security guy that kind of just like doesn't pat anybody down. He just runs his hands down the side, never comes into contact with anybody, like before a concert. You guys have seen that, right? It was like that. It was like the wrestling version of that. It was so bad. I wouldn't put these people on TV on the USA Network if they're not ready, plain and simple. They had a couple of good moments in the match, but that specific spot right there, you might as well have just replaced the ring apron, and instead of it saying NXT, just say wrestling is fake. Might as well. That looked like shit, and they need to get their act together. Not good stuff there at all. Angel Garza is your new number one contender for the Cruiserweight title. He'll be taking on Leo Rush this week. He defeated Tony Nese to earn that spot. So we got a Cruiserweight title match this week on NXT, and we had Dominic Dijakovic picking up a win over Isaiah Scott. There might have been another match or two that I'm missing on NXT, but those are the only ones I felt worthy enough to talk about. Let's move on to SmackDown here, and then we'll touch on the Survivor Series card, because all we have announced for War Games are the 2 War Games matches, the men's match and the women's match, and we still have some combatants that need to be named for that. So not too much announced for that as of yet, aside from the 2 matches. But Survivor Series has got a few. But last night, SmackDown episode, get this. It was in Manchester, taped show. Usually when they do these overseas shows, they're not very good, although we've had a couple of good ones. AJ Styles won the WWE title over there a couple of years ago. So every now and then they can give us some good ones, but I didn't really particularly enjoy this SmackDown very much. But somehow they got a better rating than last week with that amazing show that they gave us with the NXT Invasion. Drew a 2.6 million rating this week, up from 2.5. That's good news for SmackDown. But the standouts in this show was the New Day winning the tag team titles. This match was supposed to happen the week before, but it wasn't able to due to the travel delays in Saudi Arabia. And I knew it. I predicted it. You know, Randy Orton, incidentally, big piece of news this week that he re-signed with the WWE for another 5-year deal. So all that teasing of going to All Elite Wrestling was either him just fucking with us or using it as a bargaining chip to get a better deal from WWE. One way or the other, I have a hard time doubting that Randy Orton really ever seriously considered going anywhere else. So he's sticking around now. The Revival still have not re-signed, to the best of our knowledge anyway. So they were going to drop the tag team titles. I just felt like they were. As soon as this match was announced, I'm like, yeah, put the belts back on the New Day. Xavier's on the shelf right now anyway. It kind of gives them the belt. Well, the belts will actually probably act as a holding pattern for the New Day until they figure out what they want to do. Give Big E a singles push finally, or whatever. This is now their 7th. Is that right? 7th tag team title reign. And they just passed a couple of days ago their 5-year anniversary of their debut in the company. So it's been quite a run for the New Day. Again, a lot of people weren't super excited about it because a lot of people are wondering why Kofi Kingston doesn't seem to give a shit that he hasn't won the title or that he lost the title or anything like that. But don't give Kofi shit for that. Give WWE shit. That's on them. And that might still eventually play into something in the future. Just right now, it's not, and the fans find it strange, and the fans aren't wrong. We had Nakamura and Cesaro defeating Ali and Shorty G in a tag team match. Now, Nakamura and Sami Zayn and Cesaro now apparently have formed this little group. They're trying to recruit Daniel Bryan. So you got Triple H trying to recruit Seth Rollins on Raw, and now Sami and Nakamura are trying to recruit Daniel Bryan into their stable. Does not seem like he's going to do this at all, which kind of sucks. I'd wish that they would do some things to really make you question if he's going to join. Right now, I'm not feeling it at all. And it looks like he's going to be next in line to get a title shot against The Fiend, because The Fiend attacked him backstage when Sami Zayn is continuing to try to recruit Daniel Bryan, and The Fiend shows up. Sami hightails it out of there, and Bray Wyatt puts the mandible claw and Daniel Bryan. And I'm guessing that match will be announced for Survivor Series. And that's probably going to be a match that The Fiend is going to win. And it's probably a good idea. First of all, Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt go way back. What, 5 years? 6 years? What year was it? Is this the 6th year since Daniel Bryan turned heel and joined the Wyatt family? Holy crap. Has it been 6 years? Wasn't that at the very tail end of 2013? Am I remembering that right? And he was briefly a heel in the Wyatt family? Holy crap. Time flies. I'm just blown away that it's been that long. Anyway, they got a ton of history, so that is there. And Bray Wyatt needs some people to beat. His last run with the title was pretty damn short. A month? Let's give him some victories here. Let's have him carry this thing and carry this character into WrestleMania. WrestleMania is the earliest. I want to see this guy drop the belt. So between now and then, he's got to beat some quality talent on the way there. And I think it's pretty safe to say that Daniel Bryan is quality talent. And Daniel Bryan put over Adam Cole clean just a week ago. There's also been a lot of talk about Daniel Bryan's future. We don't know, where his career is headed, how his health is, how many more years he can wrestle. So if he feels like his time is winding down and he's only got a short amount of time left, putting some guys over and doing the right thing is why Daniel Bryan is so awesome. So I think if Daniel Bryan does get this title match at Survivor Series, he ain't winning. And I don't think he's joining up with Nakamura and Sami Zayn either, even though I really love that act. It's growing on me. Sami Zayn is not in the ring right now. He's kind of playing a managerial role. which is working for him. I do enjoy it, and it's turned out to be a lot funnier than I expected it to be. We also had Sasha Banks defeating Nikki Cross in a one-on-one match. Sasha debuted some new music, and I posed my question to you guys on Twitter. What do you think? Snoop Dogg is rapping it. It starts out the same with the same intro, but then it goes into a completely different sounding theme than the one she had before. I've only listened to a little bit of it so far. I'm okay with it, and I firmly believe that it will grow on us, because every time we hear a new theme, you're like, oh, I don't know. My whole entire life has been that way. Every time I hear a new wrestling theme, I reject it at first, and then it grows on me, and I grow to love it. And there's no way I'm ever going to shit on Snoop. So I guess I'm glad with the music facelift that Sasha got, and I'm sure it'll grow on me as we go through here. But after the match, after Sasha beats Nikki, I think Bayley is Bayley on commentary for this? I forgot what happened, but after the match, Bayley, who hasn't really forgotten what happened, the previous week on SmackDown, then attacks Nikki Cross, starts beating her up, and that's when our friend Shayna Baszler, who seems to be able to have a teleportation power, she's on every show, she shows up and starts beating the shit out of Bayley, which is great. And of course, Bayley has the big triple threat with Baszler and Becky at Survivor Series. We had another NXT invasion as well. Imperium showed up and attacked Heavy Machinery. Tucker and Otis came out there to have a match. Don't even know who their opponents were supposed to be, but they were jumped by Imperium, which is cool because they were in Manchester. Makes sense to have some NXT talent or NXT UK talent show up here, and that was great stuff. Walter Chance and the whole deal. Loved that segment. And in a segment that I'm almost ashamed that I kind of liked, I didn't completely hate Braun Strowman and Tyson Fury squashing their beef. I kind of thought it was a little lame, Fury came out because he's, over there in his on his home turf. Came out there and immediately started putting Strowman on the mic, putting him over on the mic, saying at Crown Jewel I had the toughest fight of my life, and if I ever have to face him again, I don't want to, but maybe we could be tag team partners. And Strowman is out there going, hell yeah, and they're basically just sucking each other's dicks for a couple of minutes, which in a weird way I kind of liked because that match at Crown Jewel was horrific. God, it was terrible. So the fact that they kind of squashed their beef, put it all behind them, were then interrupted by the B team, who of course got murdered. Strowman ran him over on the outside of the ring, and the two just had kind of this love fest in the ring. And as I consult the How to Be a Modern Fan handbook, it clearly states on page 244, right after the section about how my opinion is the only one that matters and everybody else can fuck off section, right after that, it clearly states that I'm not allowed to like a segment like this with an outsider and a character like Braun Strowman just doing and saying lame things. So I apologize for not being a good wrestling fan. I apologize for liking the segment, and if you need to unfollow me or unsubscribe, I'm cool with it. Let's run down the Survivor Series card. Here's what we're looking at right now for Survivor Series. We've got Rey Mysterio taking on Brock Lesnar for the WWE title. Triple threat match, NXT Women's Champion Shayna Baszler taking on Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch and SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley. We've got the three-way tag team match as well. Revival is now out, and New Day is in because they won the titles on SmackDown, and they'll be taking on the War Raiders and Undisputed Era in a triple threat. So Undisputed and Shayna Baszler both working double duty here following a War Games match. That's gnarly. And we also have Seth Rollins captaining Team Raw to take on, I'm guessing, Team NXT and Team SmackDown. And again, with Team NXT, who's Team NXT going to be? Is it going to be people involved in that War Games match? Is it going to be Tommaso Ciampa, Matt Riddle, Keith Lee? It very well could be. Finn Balor is another guy. We could see Gargano getting involved here. And I'm curious who's going to be on that team and if we're going to see any sort of a heel turn, any sort of a defection at Survivor Series. I think it's really likely that we get something like that on the show. And we're probably also going to get Daniel Bryan versus The Fiend. And what else are they kind of teasing for Survivor Series? That would be 5 matches right there. I don't know if they're going to do... Well, no, they might. They're not going to do... I don't think they'll be able to do a North American title. Yeah, they could do North American, IC, and US if they wanted with AJ, Nakamura, and Roderick. Ooh, Ooh, that sounds good. So yeah, we might still get that as well. So they could add one of those, and we might get Daniel Bryan, or we're probably going to get Daniel Bryan and The Fiend. So that's where we stand right now for Survivor Series. I'm also very ashamed to say that I didn't see much of NWA Power this week. Kind of bummed out about that. The only thing that I saw was Aaron Stevens, flesh-colored trunks, and I can't unsee that. Yikes. So that's all I really saw. So I have a little bit of catch up to do on NWA Power. I know that Corey Graves, after the Bell podcast, has been off and running now for a couple of weeks. He's had a couple of interesting guests on there, including Triple H and Seth Rollins. And I did see that Cody himself acknowledged the shittiness of the Lana and Rusev and Lashley angle and asked WWE to end it. I haven't heard that yet. It's just kind of something that I saw come across social media, and a couple of you have mentioned it to me. So that's great that they're allowing Corey Graves to say pretty much whatever he wants. I think that's all I've got for my notes here. I got to get out of here. We got to watch Full Gear here in just a couple of years, man. I saw Austin 6 years in a couple of minutes, excuse me. I talked about Randy Orton signing the 5-year deal. Did I mention Darby Allin? You know, he did that interview at StarCast where he did take that cheap shot at WWE, saying that he chose AEW over them because of the creative freedom, and that if he was in WWE, WWE would be having him jack off in a boiler room. Well, if there's one place you're going to jack off, I guess a boiler room would be pretty good. But no, Darby Allin is not in favor of that, doesn't like it. And again, the fans jumped all up his ass about that. But to me, that was such a minor thing. You know, again, I just want to kind of plant a flag there and say there is a difference between mentioning WWE all the time and just taking a cheap shot here and there. You know, and same goes on the WWE side of thing. If they want to mention or take a cheap shot at AEW here or there, I'm all for it. Just don't become obsessed with Dynamite. Just knock them here and there. And the other side can do the same thing. It's part of the rivalry. It's part of the fun. And I think the fans need to stop getting so uppity about everything. Darby Allin is an adult and he has every right to answer the question any way he sees fit. So anyway, I think that's all I've got for this week. Let me go back over here to the chat, make sure I didn't miss any other super chats. I see a couple. There's one from, who are you? Millennial Smart. Good to see you in here again. Thank you so much for the donation. Ray and Brock always had fun matches back in 2003. That's right. They did. 16 years ago, these guys were working together. Their matches were fun. And I can't believe we're going to see this again. You know, they were two SmackDown mainstays back then. They were on the SmackDown brand. And to see them kind of rekindle this at this stage of their career, I think there's just enough time left to make this match fun. And I hope Brock Lesnar does not kill Rey Mysterio, because Rey's older and Rey's fragile. Send Rey back here to San Diego in one piece, please, Brock Lesnar. And speaking of San Diego, damn, it's a gorgeous day today. It's like 82 degrees. It's flip-flop weather out there in November. Hell of a place to be. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get the hell out of here now. Man, we had a lame audience in here all day, but that's okay. It's probably because of Full Gear. I had less than a third of the audience that I had last week. So yeah, that is low. But anyway, join me later on tonight for my Full Gear review. If you guys are watching the show, follow along with me on Twitter. Let me know what you think about it. And if you're not watching the show, you can follow me on Twitter, and I'll give you tweet-by-tweet updates of what's going on Full Gear. So you guys take care of yourselves, be good, and I will catch you in just a couple of hours. Take care. Peace.